Free my mind, open my heart with the whispers of truth. To live a conscious life, to live a conscious life on the growing edge. On the growing edge.
And now, here's Allie.
Hello and good morning and welcome to Growing Edge Live. Here we are all about supporting individuals right where they are, transforming lives, inspiring minds, and healing hearts. And I'm so happy to be here today with you. This is a special time, and we've got an amazing guest today. Every Monday we get together and we talk to soul-centered individuals that are channeling their time, their talent, their energy, their love, their resources into doing good works in the world. And today we've got Dr. Pjae Stanley. We'll get to meet her in just a little bit. I'm so glad you're here. And today I selected a question for my Ask Allie segment that I thought would really speak to what's going on in the world today. You know, my heart just feels so heavy knowing that there's so many troubles with the war, the devastation, the unrest, all of the death that is occurring in the Middle East. It is weighing so heavy on so many of our hearts and minds. And so today, when I was thumbing through the questions, I found one that I felt would sort of give me a little bit of a doorway into talking about what we can do right in our very homes. And so this question comes from Corinne, and she says, why is service an important part of one's spiritual path? And so service, sacred service, is something I know that I was made aware of as I put my hand up and I started with my spiritual studies, my journey to become a religious science practitioner. Service was really emphasized. It was part of our training, and it was something that we were encouraged to do and to track the hours of service within our spiritual community. And I've served many spiritual communities over the years. But when I first was introduced to the notion of service within a spiritual community, I was at the Bear Valley Center for Spiritual Enrichment in Southern California. And that's when I fell in love with seva, selfless service. Seva is a Sanskrit word that means selfless service, or work performed without any thought of reward or payment. In ancient India, seva was believed to help one's spiritual growth and at the same time contribute to the improvement of a community. This is the art of giving with no need to receive, where the act itself is a gift to everyone involved. Seva is the art of blessed action. The art of blessed action. And I believe once we sort of start to look into this thing called seva or selfless service, and we start to practice it, we start to move out of our own way, if you will. Gandhi said the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in service of others. And I believe that's what happens. We begin to step out of our egoic mind or any sort of ideas that we are serving to gain something or serving to be noticed. And we start to move into this flow of serving with an idea that there's something happening through me. Yes, it may be my body, my hands, my mind, or my resources that are going to support this community or this person, but there's something bigger happening. Something's moving through me. And we begin to feel a greater connection to that invisible, ineffable, infinite, and eternal aspect or dimension of our being, our God self. And we begin to allow that to flow. And with that allowing, with us sort of stepping our little self out of the way, and allowing that bigger heart, that compassionate heart to open to flow and serve and meet the needs of whomever seems to need, whomever, whatever seems to need. We start to expand our awareness. We start to feel the exquisiteness of the commitment we've made to the divine, to be in service of something greater, to be in service of the one, which is all humanity is a part of this one. And so we start to feel this greater connection with all of life through our ability to simply be present. Ram Dass says, helping out is not some special skill. It is not the domain of rare individuals. It is not confined to a single part of our lives. We simply heed the call of that natural impulse within, and we follow it where it leads us. We simply follow it where it leads us. And this opens up to another aspect of living the conscious life or living a spiritual life. We start to tune in to that still small voice within us, that intuitive voice that leads us and guides us exactly where we need to be, to whomever we need to serve. And so today, we have this tremendous opportunity to be in service of humanity, where there's huge regions of the world that are struggling, that are in terror, that are in pain, that are desperate and don't feel that they have the help or the resources available that they need. And so it can feel very daunting when we're in our own homes, we're safe, we have our needs met, we're experiencing the abundance of life, and we may not know what to do. We can share our resources, we can give to those organizations that are on the ground supporting people that are in crisis. But what can we do moment by moment? What can we do so that we feel that we are making a difference, that we can somehow use our life, our resources, our consciousness to support people around the world? Because what we know when we've done some spiritual work, and I'm knowing that you have, if you're watching this, it's a good indication that you're pretty far down your path of self-discovery. We begin to know that what we're doing in our little life has a ripple out effect and connects to all life. So we can be in service by simply meditating, by holding the high watch, by knowing what our soul already knows, that the possibility of peace exists within the minds and hearts of us human beings, us spiritual beings having a human experience. Because we, as spiritual beings incarnated onto this planet, we are the ones that have co-created this reality. And so we, as individual parts of the collective, we play a role in healing the planet, in taking a giant step in consciousness of sharing our wisdom of wholeness, of creativity and healing. And so it may not seem like we're doing much, but for those that have the ears to hear, those that have the eyes to see, those that have the hands to give and the heart to receive, we know that our prayers make a difference. Our visioning a world of peace where there is plenty for everyone, where all people are seen and heard and valued. These ideas, these feelings, these visions have an impact. And if enough of us are moving in this vibrational field of what's possible, of holding the high watch, of casting a bigger circle and inviting our earthling buddies, our brothers, our sisters, to step into that expanded circle, we are in service of humanity. So maybe we resist the temptation to turn on the negative news, and we answer the calling of our meditation cushion to take some time, take a few moments every hour to simply hold the high watch, envision a world of peace, and extend a blessing of grace to those that have forgotten, to those that have fallen into the illusion of separation, of us and them, and call them into this field of love and beauty and acceptance. So, Corinne, this path of service is a spiritual practice that will bring you back home to who you truly are. It will allow you to create coherence between your ego and your essence, this earthly suit and this intellect with this soulful self, your omniscience, omnipotence, and omnipresence. And as we build this coherence in our life and we align, we merge with our essence, our ego and our essence merge, we then begin to expand our self-awareness. We start to have a greater influence in our world, and we begin to see that what we are doing in our worlds, and when we get together in community, and what we do in community definitely makes a difference. And so I hope this has helped you to understand more about the importance and the spiritual practice of seva, and how each one of us, right where we are, make a big difference. So peace and blessings to you. And if any of you have a question that you'd like to pose to me, just send it to me at growingedgelive@gmail.com, and I'll put you in the lineup. So thank you very much, Corinne. Okay, so we are in for a big, big treat. I am so happy that I met Reverend Dr. Pjae Stanley several years ago now. We met at the affiliated New Thought Network, and I had the great joy of serving with her on the board of directors for the affiliated New Thought Network for several years. And we continue to work together and to play together. And I want to share a little bit about Pjae. So Reverend Dr. Pamela Pjae Stanley is the Senior Minister of Harmony Spiritual Center of Fort Worth in Texas. She's an instructor of creativity, meditation, and Master Your Life classes in the senior program of Tarrant County Community College South. She has a consulting and coaching business, Life by Design, and she's done her doctoral research on transformational power of unconditional love. Wow. And she also as I mentioned, serves the New Thought movement as the corporate secretary for the affiliated New Thought Network, otherwise known as ANTN, Anton. So, Pjae, I'm so glad that you're here. Welcome to Growing Edge Live.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I look so forward to being here, and certainly just recently worked with you on your, I always want to call it M&M, but sorry.
Oh my gosh, what you're talking about is the Enneagram.
Thank you. Yes, which is very helpful to me. And I thank you so much for that. And I do want to say that just after the recent Anton conference that we had, and we had a vote on new members, and not new members, but the board members, that I am now the vice president of Anton, no longer the corporate secretary.
Oh, well, sorry. I
didn't send that to you. I didn't put that in there.
Vice president. That's a good supporting role.
Man, I love it. And just, hanging out with Jerry and finding out all what he's doing, just in case there's an issue. So yeah, it's a lovely thing. Thank you for that. I'm just enjoying life so much. And certainly that Anton conference that we were at just recently.
Yeah, and we broadcasted live from there a couple of weeks ago. And yeah, it's an amazing organization.
Really
and the retreat that we've all been a part of for years and years has been at Unity Village for the past several years. So I know for many people that's sort of a bucket list spiritual pilgrimage destination, and to be there, to be on those sacred grounds, to be a part of the prayer ministry there, offer prayer. It's a huge, very, very special.
They're just underneath words you keep trying to talk about it, but there's just more words keep coming, and it's just, you got to write a book about it, and then it's going to be an encyclopedia about it. It's just so good. It's just so good. So yeah, I certainly invite everyone to come next year. If you didn't this year, do think about coming next year. It's just, and now is a good time to get there, because we still have that Anton discount for having been at the conference, and for this being the conference month of October. So we still have that. So yeah, think about that.
And thanks for the reminder. I need to purchase tickets.
I got mine. Yes, for sure. Yeah.
And also, I wanted to just shout out to Reverend Robert Brzezinski,
absolutely,
who is also a brand new member on the board of directors. So,
he was already a leader. He's already a leader. Certainly bringing. All of the that we were able to do with having people online that couldn't be there in person is because of him, and obviously Reverend Dr. Bill Marcioni, and all their wonderful knowledge about online and computers, and just on and on. And he's just always brought such great work and service to Anton and to everything that he does. So he's a wonderful new member of the Anton board. Yeah, we're just so excited about that.
So I know, you have quite a big presence in the New Thought world, and we see you, presenting and serving and singing. And I want to sort of dive a little bit deeper. I want to go back in time a little bit to explore and share with our audience your evolutionary journey. Where did you start your spiritual path? Were you awakened at a young age? Let's hear a little bit about your path.
So I'm, the family home, and I traveled a lot with my father, who was in the military, but the family home is in Texas. This is where I live now, and this is where the family home has been. So I was raised in a fundamental Southern Baptist church, and there wasn't any discussion about whether you would go to church or not. You're going to go. The thing for me though was that I always was greater than myself. The part where the disconnect was I didn't believe in the same spiritual aspect or soulful aspect that the church believed in. And so I was constantly, even as a young person, it just didn't make any sense to me that a God of love could also condemn you to hell. It just didn't work. It was a complete disconnect. So my whole life, even as a young person, I was constantly looking for something that was aligned with what I knew to be true. And this voice in my inside of me, and it comes as a voice, and of course that soulfulness, that connection to spirit comes however it comes. For me, it comes as a voice. For some people, it comes as music, it comes as a knowing, it comes as a synchronicity. It just comes as it comes, however it does. For me, it's like I'm talking to you right now. And I've always had that as a young person, just be able to talk with that which is greater than myself and ask about things that were bothering me, things that were hurting my soul, answers to questions. Always been able to do that. So I constantly was looking for something, and what I thought, it never, ever occurred to me to step out of the religion that I was raised with. Never occurred to me. But on the same time that I was on my path, my husband at the time, Jason Stanley, was looking for a path of his own. He was trying to find something he could believe in, because he was raised in several fundamental churches, because he was taken to church by all the women who raised him, who were his nannies and who were his babysitters. And so he just went to all these places and kept hearing the same message, that we're the only one. And he knew that couldn't be right, because they were all pretty much saying the same thing. So he was on a search too. And one day I came back from a trip, and he said, I found something in the yellow pages, and it says, and it sounds really interesting, and it's called the Center for Spiritual Living. And it just lit up, and I just thought, oh my God, I don't know what that is, but that sounds wonderful. Let's go. And so we did. We went when I got back, we went on that Sunday, and I'll tell you, I had trepidation, because I walked in, and my upbringing was, number one, a woman in the pulpit, not allowed. Number two, a white woman in the pulpit, and I was raised in a Black church, so I wasn't used to seeing that. I just wasn't, and so so I had a lot of pullback, not about what she was saying, but just about being in there, because we were always told about be watching out for false prophets. But she started talking, and she had a fabulous guest, and I just thought, man, she is speaking truth to my heart. So I spoke to my inner self, my higher self, who I call George, and I said, George, and I just said, George, listen, she's making a lot of sense to me. And I feel like this is home for me. So if this is a false prophet, you need to make it clear to me. Otherwise, I'm home. And the voice said, you are home. That's it. And I have been in CSL and New Thought. When we moved back to Texas, we were in San Diego at the time. When we moved back to Texas, I couldn't find a CSL, but I found a Unity. I moved in next door to a woman who was going to Unity. And she was very shy about letting me know where she was going to church, because I said, let's go to church. And she said, well, I go to some place different. And I said, that's okay, I'm different. Let's go. And that's where I discovered Unity and started taking Unity classes as well. I've been on that path ever since. And that was in 1995 that I stepped into that CSL church.
Wow.
And I knew I was home. Wow. I've been there ever since. And even when I travel, I've been to Vietnam, I've lived over there. I always find, if I can't find a home, I take the books with me. I take my church with me wherever I go. So, all the wonderful writers I take with me and make my own church.
Beautiful. Yeah. So you have, since then, you founded your own center.
I didn't found it. So I am the senior minister of a center. I wasn't a founder of it, but my friends, who I knew when I lived in Waco and went to their Unity Church, moved to Fort Worth and became the ministers there, and they were ready to retire. Okay. And then they just called me and said, listen, and I had gotten I got my master's degree, I had gotten my ordination, all of that, not because I was going after it, but because I was taking so many classes through EIT, Emerson Institute of Theology, that those things were just, I had them, but I had with no intention of ever taking on a church, ever. But in fact, I said in my head, I'm not a minister. I can't do it.
So what was your calling?
So my friends called me and said, listen, you have to step up. We need to step out of this. We've been here doing a long time. You need to step into this. And I just said, well, let me talk to George and let me see what George has to say. So I did. I went into prayer and I said, this is a question I asked. I said, am I a minister? And George said, you've always been a minister. Whether you had the ordination or not didn't change that. You've always been of service. You've always been helping people. You've always ministered to people. So yes, you are a minister. And I thought, oh, well, all right then. There you go. So I stepped into it. I never would have without those people asking me to do it. And me confirming with my higher power that yes, I could do it. And I said, this is what I said. I said, well, George, if I'm doing this, then you need to surround me with people that can help me do it. And do you know, at the very same time in Dallas, Texas, I became a minister. I found a girlfriend, Kim Andrews, who's now an ANTN member. She was a Unity minister not far from me, and Melinda Wood Allen, who is also an ANTN member, was just getting her church. All three of us in Dallas, Texas, were becoming ministers for New Thought churches at the same time.
Wow.
And George led me to them, and we are still friends now.
Wow. So what was that like? How was that, those first, saying yes and then, stepping into that role?
Well, it's so here's the thing, is that there's a couple of things that occurred. I know what New Thought means to me. But what I don't want to do for anything, for any relationships that I'm in, whether it's my church or friends, family, whatever, is I don't insist on having things my way. I don't. But what I felt like I needed to do was to teach. So I felt it was necessary, because this Harmony Spiritual Center came together not because of something that they were drawn to. They came together because of something they wanted to get away from. Right. So there was no actual reason to be together. There was no driving force. And so when I came, they didn't really even know what New Thought was. They were calling themselves Christian. And I said, no, we're not that. And that's going to give the wrong message and draw people in that will then leave, because that's not what we do. So it was a matter of teaching them about who we are and what we do and what that means. And it was a beautiful process, and taught classes and all of that. And so it was lovely. And my intention, and we created an intention for ourselves, was to be joyously inclusive, spiritually enlightening, and life transforming. Those were our purposes for being together, and using what we knew from New Thought to do that. So that's kind of how that evolved. And my friends helped me do that and talk about, working. I've never worked with board before. So how that worked, and there was some stumbling, but what was really wonderful is that they were open, and so was I, to conversations, discussions, and seeing what was right for us, what was the right fit. And so that's how that occurred.
That's beautiful. So how many people do you have in your...
We had, prior to COVID, we had coming on Sundays about 60 people every Sunday. And now I want to say, and it's actually growing back, and we have about 30 that come on Sunday mornings, and more that watch, because we still do live. We do a live recording of our message on Sunday morning, and we have, I don't know, several people that watch online and donate. So I don't really know what the bottom line is. I know we have about 30 or so on Sunday mornings in the room, and I don't know, about 15 or so watching every Sunday. And how many that actually adds up to, I don't really know. But we're growing. We just got a couple. In fact, Frank and Terry Zamullen sent 2 people to my center. They just came on Sunday. They are new to Fort Worth, and they were told by them, hey, check out Pjae. So they did, and they're lovely, lovely people.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know for us at SATA, we closed our doors during COVID, and we took a different path. It was time for our community to take a break and to go online, and so that's how we're doing it. And I know I've heard, because we're all connected as ministers within the affiliated New Thought network. We're kind of a network.
Yes.
And there is this feeling, this energy of people wanting to congregate, people wanting to get together, have community.
Absolutely.
So that's
absolutely one of the things that where I live in a senior community, and it's not what you would normally call a senior community. It's a friend of mine that had a couple of duplexes, and so he renovated 4 of the duplexes and put couples that was part of his spiritual journey and friends of his in each one of those, and one he kept open as our community center. So every Thursday we have dinner together. Every Thursday, once a month, we have dinner friends, which we invite the community, our actual physical community, as well as our spiritual community, to join us for dinner and just talk. And that thing just keeps growing. So we're looking at different ways in which we can have community that's not just church on Sunday morning, or they're having the spiritual center on Sunday morning. We do that. And we've actually, on Sunday morning, we do something right after service at 11:45 that we call afterwards. And so we just invite everyone that's there that wants to stick around, or anyone that wants to come in, to just talk about the talk I just did, or something I may have said before, or some spiritual concept they're not clear about, or anything that they want to share. They come and talk about that. And that is growing. So people just want to have conversations. And so not necessarily being at church or at the center on a Sunday morning having a message, as they want to talk about it. And so we're just trying to look at different ways in which we can gather and talk.
That's beautiful. Well, let's take a short break,
Okay,
and we'll be right back in a couple of minutes.
all right.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hepperlin Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Spiritual Center, Kitchener, Om Center for Spiritual Living, La Mesa, Satya Center, Center for Spiritual Living, North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and Center for Spiritual Living, Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for making New Thought Media Network a place to be. Please come be you. And remember, like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
Free my mind, open my heart with the whispers of truth. To live a conscious life, to live a conscious life on the growing edge. On the growing edge.
And now, here's Allie.
We're back. So, Pjae, I was reading your bio at the beginning, and it seems as though you're doing a lot of work outside of your church.
Yes.
You seem to be offering classes at the community college level, and you're also doing personal coaching and consulting. I know that you're an author. And so there's a lot that you're doing in the world to express yourself and your, what you've learned, and sharing that with others. So I don't know where we want to go. There's so many things. What's most alive in you at the moment? And we'll just see where it goes.
Yeah. So I guess I just want to talk about what the reason why you answered a question earlier about, why do we want to be in service? And for me, it is life. It is life. I really believe that I honestly believe that we're all here with a purpose. And that purpose is to be absolutely 100% you, whatever that looks like. And so by saying that, allowing yourself to be all that you are. I know that as we're going through life, there's a lot of people that want to share with you what you can and can't do, who you are and aren't supposed to be. And so where I am right now on this path is encouraging people to listen to themselves, to listen to their heart's dream, because it's not just about them. It's not just about me, what's coming out of my heart. It's about how that is part of my service to others. And when I become more genuinely who I am, and I'm able to talk about and understand the journey what that is, what it takes to make that journey, and I can share that authentically, because I think when you share authentically, people know that. They hear that you're not just talking about book reading. It's not something that you just read and picked up and think it's a good idea. It's how you're living. And so they tend to believe you. And I want to speak from that place. When I speak to you, when I speak on Sunday mornings, when I write in my book that I wrote, and the other one that I'm writing, and even in the fiction book that I wrote, I write a lot about the journey and what it takes to do that, and the joy of being authentically 100% you is so much more than what you think it's going to be. It's not selfishness. And I think a lot of people, and particularly women, and I'm not going to get into a whole male-female thing, it's not that. But I do know, because I have a lot of women friends, that we tend to want to be caregivers and feel like our job in the world is to take care of others. And it really isn't. And the reason why I know it isn't is because if you know for a fact that everyone you look at, everyone you see is an individualized expression of God, of love, then they have every ability that you have to live their life fully. So they don't really need you. They really don't. But I think people are inspired by you. I think people are inspired to live what they know to be true already for their lives. And so that's all I'm doing. That's all I'm doing in the world, is being authentically me and sharing what I know it takes to be that, and encouraging people to be authentically who they are.
Yeah. So
you're and sharing what I know it takes to be that, and encouraging people to be authentically who they are. Check it out.
Apparently, Siri thought that I was asking.
Siri's so helpful. She's got
so
on
helpful.
Surface
So
too.
helpful. Yeah.
She's obviously listening, as you know. She didn't realize that she wasn't invited to share.
I did not invite her. I didn't even say her name, but she just talked anyway. Sorry.
So you obviously on Sundays you've got an audience that you're talking to that already are fallen in love with you and the message you have. Yeah, and that kind of sacred, beloved community where we feel so loved and supported. To have that is such a gift for us ministers to be chosen, by our community, to step into that role, and then to play that part is truly a gift. Yeah. So when you're out there in the world, you're the colleges, or you're out in the community where people maybe aren't so, cued into what you're up to and what you're about.
Right.
How does this new thought message, this message of truth and empowerment, how does it land out there in the community these days?
I tell you, one of the things that I know and that we talk about all the time, it's new thought, ancient wisdoms. So what I'm talking about doesn't need to be titled. I don't need to go in and say, I want to teach you all about new thought. I'm not doing any of that. So that's why you can see my classes are labeled creativity, becoming authentic you. That's how I label the classes. I don't label them anything to do with any sort of spirituality or religion. That just comes up as we're talking about what it takes to be creative, what it takes to be your authentic self. Everyone wants to know how to be how to be their best self. And when I talk about you have to get quiet, you have to know who you are, you have to take time. We'll talk about this a little bit later, but have a spiritual moment. In that, I do say that spiritual moment, connecting with that which is greater than yourself. So I don't name it, I don't call it God, I don't call it any of that. Just that which you know is greater than yourself. If you believe that, then you want to be in touch with that. So I talk about all those kinds of things. And how do you, then people want to, how do I change this idea that I have that I'm not good enough? Affirmations and denials. And they don't, everybody knows that now. So there's no need for me to say that this is a part of a spiritual center. And this is what we do every Sunday morning. It's just about serving people where they are. Naming it is about me looking to have more members, and I'm not doing that. I'm really not doing that. And yet I invite them, not necessarily to my spiritual center, but I invite them to the other things that we're doing, dinner friends. I have another thing that I do on Wednesday nights, which is called, every Wednesday, which is called Real Talk. And all we do with Real Talk is just, we'll read a book. We'll read Brene Brown that everybody is familiar with. But this time I read, we did a Catherine Ponder book because it was about the power of love. What is it called? The prospering power of love. And who doesn't want to be prosperous? So I talk about all of those kinds of things. Something is coming up on my thing that's got you very small.
No, it's good. It's my.
Oh, it does. Okay, all right, fine. So those are the kinds of things that in the world that I talk about, and my classes are always full. Even I even have a choir class. Like I'll just do a choir class, and we'll do like You Are the World, and and some of Ricky Byers' stuff, and people are, oh my God, where's this beautiful music coming from? Oh, yes, wow. So that's how we do it. That's how I do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's just beautiful. I mean, you're offering so many different ways to connect people with their heart, their truth,
Correct.
and to conversations, breaking bread together, book discussions, self-empowerment classes.
Yes.
I know that I heard you talking about supporting people in writing their own book.
Correct.
So you've got this incredible way of taking in what you're learning, finding what's really, those nuggets of things that are key to creativity, and then being able to share those with people in so many different ways.
Right.
So tell me a little bit about when you're working with an individual to tap into their creativity, because you and I are both creatives.
Yep.
I'm a painter artist. I love to paint. It's the way I feel most connected to God. It's a meditative practice.
Absolutely.
It's a way to be, hearing my intuition. But a lot of people aren't creative. They would say, oh, I don't even know what end of a paintbrush is up, or how, I'm tone deaf. I don't know how to sing, or, whatever kind of artistic thing. They don't believe they have any artistic creative abilities. So what do you do to take someone that thinks that they're not, and open them up to the fact that they are? Because as human beings, that's what we are.
Exactly. So one of the things, since it's a couple of things, and exactly what you're talking about, first of all, I just tell them, why is that true? People will say something, I know it's not true, and rather than argue with them, I'm not going to argue with them. I just ask them, why is that true? Why is that true for you? Because the fact is that all of us are creative. We come from creativity. Everything on this planet is creative. Everything. And so you are. And so what my focus is to help them redefine what creativity means. Because people think creativity means you're an artist. You can paint, you can write a song, you can whatever, all those, can sculpt, pottery. Those are the narrow definitions of creativity. And here's something that I that I ask people, and very quickly, just to let them know they're creative. I said, tell me about a time when you have been, let's just say, in a restaurant, and you've seen somebody, a woman, she had on something beautiful, beautiful dress. What's the story you told yourself about her? You don't know anything about her. But what's the story you told yourself about her? We are creating stories all the time. We are creating things, ideas, thoughts, information, and you don't know anything about her. But you might say something like, I bet she thinks she's all that because she's got that beautiful dress on. She probably comes from money. Or maybe you just think, man, she seems so lucky. She must have a lot of money. Look at that. So we're just constantly creating thoughts. And that right there, as soon as I tell people that, and they just start laughing, because everyone has that ability to do that. So then the next thing that I asked them about, my sister, who I wasn't raised with, she was my stepsister actually. And I didn't know her because when her mother and my father got together, we were both grown and had our own families. So we're connecting now at this age. She lives in Dallas and I live in Fort Worth. So we're connecting now. And one of the things she asked me was, she said, oh my God, you're so creative. You do so many things. And I don't do anything. And I said, it's not true. That's not true. Tell me what you do. And so she told me, well, I like to read and I like go out to eat. And because she wanted to know what her service was. And I said, do you have friends? She goes, yeah, I do have friends. I said, all right. So what happens if you were to create a book club and invite your friends? And maybe you guys could get together as the book club and go out to dinner. The very things you love to do, you can use that to serve other people. And she likes to travel. I said, and then once you guys are in a book club together, you go out to dinner together. What if you just tossed in, hey, what if we took a trip together? How many of you guys would be interested? And then you manage the trip. So just help people reframe what creativity means. Take what they love to do and serve others with it. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. So, I think my gift is, I think my gift is to help people see greater, to see more of what because people tend to downgrade or downplay. I did it myself. I never thought I was a good singer. Someone else had to see that for me and point it up in several ways that before I believed that I was a singer. So I understand the power of someone holding the light for you until you can see it for yourself. And that's one of the things that I love to do.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So tell me another, give me another instance of how someone's come into your community, kind of doubting or not really aware of how they, not really turned on by their own, passion and power and creativity. Do you have another example of someone that's come in and found a vision or found their voice in some way?
One of the classes that I teach, and I use the book, I use it all the time. I'm trying to think, what is it? It's by Julia Cameron.
Oh yeah, The Artist's Way.
The Artist's Way. That is such a powerful book, and I invite people into that, and take pieces from that book and invite people to do certain things. So one of the things I'll ask is, well, what is something that you love to do and you haven't done it for yourself in a long time? What is it? Just whatever it is, like go to the movies, go shopping, look at material. What do you like to do? Do that. Do that for yourself for this 1 month, once a week. Have yourself an artist date, and then come back and talk about what. Because I know that once you start giving yourself permission to do something that you love, other creative things, urges start coming up. We basically squashed down those creative urges, and I'm asking people to allow that to reemerge by doing something that you love for no reason. You don't have to get anybody's permission or to take anybody else with you. Do it for yourself, whatever that may be, And so that's one of the things that I ask people to do. And then we'll come back and talk. How did that go? How are you feeling? And I had one woman, I asked her to do that, and she went out looking at paints. And when I asked her, I came back and I said, so what did you do with that? And she said, well, I discovered a painting class from this museum. And so they have artists that actually work at the museum that do painting classes. And so they just have wine and snacks and they teach them how to paint. So she said, I took that class and look what I painted. So she showed me a picture that she created. And then she was talking about what was happening next, what she was going to do next. So that's another example of that.
Yeah, sometimes we just need a guide, we just need
you just need
someone.
something, and it's not big. It really isn't big. And I think for me, I just want them to start small because they're already overwhelmed. People are already overwhelmed and not believing, and surrounded by people who can't believe for them either, because they don't believe for themselves either. So I have to start small and do something, ask them to do something that is not overwhelming. So something that small, like just what's something you haven't done for yourself, something small. And I'll throw a couple of examples out. Doesn't have to be big, that you just go peruse around in the bookstore. I mean, you don't have to necessarily buy a book. Just go peruse around in the bookstore. Just get excited about the titles or any number of things like that. Look around in a materials shop, a shop that sells materials because you like to sew, whatever maybe. Just go look at that and get ideas. Just the generation of ideas starts to have people thinking about, oh, you know what? I could do that. I could do that. Yeah, you could. And I'm there to say, yeah, you can. You could do that.
Yeah, that's so good. I'm someone that struggled quite a bit with depression over the last few years.
Yes.
We lost a child, and
yes.
When you're in a place where life has become really heavy,
yes.
and you're struggling with grief, and I'm not talking about just me. It's like so many people have lost their jobs, their ways of being,
absolutely,
family members. And so, when we're in that place, that sort of depressed place, even if you're not clinically depressed, but just sort of in that sort of depressed, heavy place, it feels like you're in this rut that you can't sort of get yourself out of.
Right.
So, these things that you're sharing, number one, being a part of something, a group, a club, a spiritual community, and then these simple things of taking yourself out on an artist date or a creative date, just to get yourself out of the way, because there's so much life to be lived. But when you're in that sort of dark place, you need a hand out.
You do.
Or need a hand up, I should say.
You do. And I want to say that so just, you're aware that in 2018, my marriage of 37 years ended. And it was devastating. And I was just in a dark hole for a while. And what I want to say about having come through it, what I want to say about that, what I know and what I did going through it, is that I just allowed myself to be in it. There was really nothing else I could do. I was in it. So rather than beating myself up and say, oh, you need to do this, I couldn't do anything else. So I allowed myself to eat popcorn and watch television in the dark and cry, just let the tears come and not have to explain them away. I didn't do a lot of drinking just because I'm not a drinker. I would have if I was a wine drinker, but I'm not, so I didn't. But those things I just was in my room watching television, watching things that made me laugh, like Lucy, I love Lucy, and just those kinds of things, silly things. And just allowed myself to be there. I also allowed myself, those 3 women that I told you, those 2 women, I'm the third person. They were there for me, and I allowed myself to cry and to be sad, and they were there for me in front. And so I was able to do that, cry without having to discuss it. They didn't ask me for discussion. They didn't ask me to say what's wrong. They didn't ask me for anything. They were just there with me, letting me cry, letting me be depressed. And so you need a friend like that. You need someone in your life that I would actually call them on the phone and just cry. And they would just be there breathing and then just hang up. No words were spoken. These are great
friends can be such a healing presence.
Oh my God. You have to have it. You have to find one. It's just one. And so they were very, very helpful. So I wanted to come back to the fact that when you are in this depressed state, you're just in it, and there's really nothing you can do about it. And when you begin to see some light, then you start coming out and you start calling other people. And at the point where I was starting to see some light was at the point where my friends actually called me and said, hey, you need to get over here and take over this church. Really, from this place? And Spirit said, yes, from this place. This is where you need to be. So working with other people, teaching and helping them, helped me come all the way out. Yeah.
Well, I'd like you to share with us a little healing balm with your voice. We've got just a couple minutes. And I know that friends are a great way of feeling loved and supported during times of sadness, but also song. And I know your voice has a particular healing quality to it. And so I'd love it if you would share your voice with us.
I was thinking about that when you asked me about a song to share. And this is a song from an old tradition, but I love it. And I changed the words around to match how I feel now. But I think everybody will know this song, and I hope that you will enjoy it. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that loved a soul like me. I was lost, but now I'm found. I was blind, oh, but now I see. It was grace that taught my heart to love, and grace that leads me through. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first knew.
Oh my gosh. That was just manna from heaven. That was like a warm blanket. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Pjae, you are a gift and a blessing. I feel so fortunate to know you.
And you really.
I look forward. You really are a way that that love and kindness and friendship and inspiration show up in my life. And I know that many people could say the same about you. So thank you very much for being here. And thank you to everyone that's been watching this as a replay, and to Michael and Robert, our producers. And also stay tuned next Monday as we have a special guest. I'm getting clarity on exactly who that is, but stay tuned and just need a confirmation from her, and then I'll know. So I will see you next week, and thanks again, Pjae. Lots of love to everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Blessings.
Thank you.